Hi, I'm Erika Del Sordo. I have another fantastic show today, and this one is going to be with Rabbi Tabachnikoff. Now, I do want to mention I have a brand new sponsor, Cobra Joe Productions. I'm going to talk about Cobra Joe Productions in just a few moments here, but I would like to get to Rabbi Jonathan Tabachnikoff. He is the spiritual leader of Congregation Dor Chadash, a liberal congregation in South Dade, Kendall area. Now, Rabbi Jonathan Tabachnikoff is a reform rabbi and healthcare chaplain. He holds degrees from Brandeis University and the Hebrew Union College, and has served both reform and conservative congregations. Rabbi Tabachnikoff has provided congressional and chaplaincy services for families in Los Angeles, Chicago, Rochester, New York, and Miami. He's served the Greater Miami Jewish Federation as a senior rabbinic consultant and is currently the Jewish chaplain at Nicholas Children's Hospital. Rabbi Tabachnikoff and his wife, Lori, have 4 children, Zachary, Ariel, Jordan, and Jacob. So thank you so much for being with me, Rabbi. How are you today?
It's my pleasure. I'm doing well. A little bit of cabin fever, but I think that goes with the times.
Of course, I'm sure it does. Of course, everyone's got cabin fever right now with what's going on. Now, I do want to make mention that I am Catholic, but Passover, of course, means the same thing. It's just that we celebrate, we celebrated Easter yesterday, and of course, Passover runs the full 8 days. Passover meaning, of course, it was the blood of the first Passover lamb. It was smeared over the doorpost that covered the sins of the children of Israel in Egypt. I'm correct?
Yeah, so far so good.
So now we were also talking last week, we were discussing, so Passover, of course, it comes at certain times, different times. I know a few people celebrate in the beginning of Passover, and that was last, I want to say Wednesday, Thursday, and then of course a big celebration is the end. Is that right?
The big celebration is the beginning. It's the first 2 nights.
It is.
Where we gather with our families and we retell the story of the Exodus from Egypt, how the Israelites went from being slaves for 400 years to their freedom, how God redeemed them with the 10 plagues and brought them to Sinai, where we received revelation, and then the 40-year trek to the promised land, to Israel.
Okay, well, thank you for clarifying that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So now we were also discussing tomorrow, this Tuesday, is that correct? You're going to be delivering boxes to the elderly.
We did it last week before the Seders. So for the first 2 nights, it is traditional to gather together in large family gatherings and to retell the whole story. So in most years, one of the themes of the evening is that we open our doors and say, let all who are hungry come and join us for this festive meal. And we mean it, that if there are people in our communities, in our areas, who don't have the means to provide a Seder, which is what we call that evening meal, then we invite them to come and to be a part of our family gathering and to provide meals for them, to provide so that they're able to celebrate and have the food that they need. So in this year, because of the coronavirus, because of COVID, we are stretched that much thinner. This year, we are unable to open our doors, even to our loved ones, let alone to strangers. So what many families did was grandma would still make the brisket, and she might have other members of the family make different courses. And then they would have the grandchildren, probably who are old enough to drive, go from one house to the other delivering packages. So everyone gets a little bit of the brisket, and you'd pick up the soup from this one, and you'd pick up dessert from another, and drive it back and forth from one house to another. And then for most of us, it was our first time. Our Seder was on Zoom. So many have crafted the new title, a Zeder, or a Zoom Seder.
Oh, that's too much. Okay.
It was a brand new experience for most of us.
Why? I was going to ask, how is this impacting your congressional, what have you been doing? Because a lot of course, in the Catholic Church, every church at this point, everyone's pretty much doing Zoom, Skype. I know that there was one church by me, they were in the parking lot, everyone in their separate cars, and they were just yelling out the sermon. So It's
Right.
everyone's gotten a little creative. Okay.
Yeah. We had one person on our board who started the rallying cry to isolate a couple of months ago. And we listened, but we kind of put her off. And then a month ago, on Friday the 13th, we heard the rallying cry from beyond, from, Tallahassee, from Washington, and we hopped right on. In Judaism, we teach that there is nothing more sacred than human life. And if you can safeguard or protect a human life, it is more important than anything else that we do. So it means that if we have to skip celebrating the Sabbath, if we have to skip celebrating Passover, if we have to skip even the most holy of holy days, you skip them in order to save a human life. And while it is not 100% across the board, it is certainly going almost across the board, as far as the Hasidic movements in Brooklyn, that the majority of them also are saying this is more important. We have to save lives and keep people healthy, and it is more important even than some of our central dictates in healthy times, which require that we have 10 people, 10 men or 10 members of the congregation present in order to hold any kind of a worship service. So they've suspended many of those rules and are allowing people to do the best that they can.
Okay, with what they have to go with.
Absolutely.
Yep. Well,
So for many, especially the older people, it is a real challenge because we had to teach them about the technology. Many of them have iPhones, but they only know the basics of, how to FaceTime the grandchildren or how to read the text, but are just learning how to reply. So there was a real learning curve here in teaching an older congregation how to get onto Zoom. And, at this point, I would say 90+% of them have figured it out.
Yeah.
I'm only a little bit ashamed to say that among those who haven't figured it out yet are my mother, who keeps calling and asking me, how was it? How was the service? How was the Seder? I listened on my phone, but I couldn't see anything. So I'm hoping that we're almost there, but it's difficult. And there's a great deal of fear that goes around, and people don't know, can I ask for help? Can I go over and be there? And is it safe? So it makes it very difficult for a lot of people.
Yes, and that goes across the board for everybody.
Yeah.
We're going to have a lot of elderly folks who finally understand how to use all the technology when this is over, right? Because it's forcing everybody.
Yeah, there have been a lot of articles that I've read about the silver lining, that along with everything else, along with the cabin fever and the missed work and the missed school and the isolation that, really has to be affecting everyone, that every time something bad happens, there's always a silver lining. And the first silver lining that we noticed, I think, was that we were at home with our children, which is a wonderful thing. Usually the kids come home from school and we come home from work and we only have an hour or two, and it's grumpy hour. So it's not always a good hour to be with them, but we're able to spend a great deal more time and be a family together, which in the beginning was wonderful. And at this point, I can look back and say it's wonderful, and we're all definitely ready for school to begin again.
Yeah.
And I think that goes for the kids as well as for the parents.
Yep.
It's not easy trying to work your job and be teacher and parent all at the same time. And, for a few hours each day, you can turn one hat off and wear a different one. But we've had to be creative and figure out ways that, my children have gone with me when delivering packages of food, of toilet paper, of whatever else, that, it becomes helping me do my job, gives them something to do. So it's a win-win, and that becomes a silver lining. I know in a lot of cities, the fact that they've shut down the factories means there's no more smog. LA hasn't seen a clear sky like this in I don't know how long. And the same
Isn't
is
that
reported from
amazing?
China.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So for everything, there's extra time at home for hobbies, for loved ones, for spring cleaning, time with, my son is a freshman at Florida State, and I was really starting to miss him.
Yeah.
And he's been home now for 30 days, and I'm really almost ready for him to go back.
See how
I
that
needed
works?
another dose, but now the dose is over.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. That's really funny. And so I'm
Yeah.
assuming you've got little ones as well who are dealing.
Yeah, I have a 3-year-old
Oh,
who's
wow.
in the next room jumping on my bed and screaming. So I'm just praying I don't hear tears, but he
Yeah,
seems to
right.
be occupying himself and is happy at the moment.
Well, that's good.
And, in the middle of the afternoon, the college student should be waking up soon. So
Isn't that how it goes?
that is how it goes. He has
Oh
become
my,
nocturnal since going to college.
my goodness. So walk me through though, real quickly, what happens the rest of this week? And I mean that both within the congregation, within the what happens in Judaism with the remainder of Passover, and then what about your personal lives as well? So what happens the rest of the week?
So starting last Wednesday night, the Passover holiday began. The first 2 nights, Wednesday night and Thursday night, we gather together as families. We retell the story of the Exodus, and we teach our children about what happened all those thousands of years ago, about Joseph and the dreams and bringing the Israelites to Egypt, about 400 years of slavery. And finally, God heard our cries, redeemed us with all of the plagues and all of the magic and all of the divine power, how we received revelation, we received the 10 Commandments, the Torah, and all of the teachings at Mount Sinai. And that's the first 2 nights. And it comes with all the fanfare and lots of food because it's a home celebration. So Passover is one of the most widely celebrated holidays within the Jewish tradition. That and Hanukkah, actually, are both home-based celebrations which revolve around the children and the family. So it is among the most widely known and the most widely observed of holidays. So we all get together, we have these fancy dinners, we spend time together. The children search for the missing matzah, the afikomen, or the dessert, and the children usually ask the questions and want to know, why is this night different from all other nights? And the answers are all about the symbols of the holiday. And this year, we had the added 11th plague. We referred to Corona as the 11th plague, the plague that is us today. Many people used a lemon on their Seder plate, which is not one of the symbols, but it was symbolic of when the world gives us lemons, our job is to figure out how to make lemonade.
I like that.
And clearly, this has been a lemon that we've all had to deal with this plague. Another cute thing I saw online was we are gathering together to celebrate the 10 plagues that didn't kill us thousands of years ago, and praying that this 11th plague will not kill us today.
Okay,
And I
like
thought
that.
that really summed up what's going on and where we are and how people are feeling.
Yes, that's very true. Okay, I like that. That explains perfectly. Question though, because I had a couple people asking me certain things, and I was like, "Well, I'm not sure. Let's ask the rabbi."
Sure.
What is the meaning in the cleaning of the? Is it Pesach? The Pesach cleaning.
Yeah, the Hebrew word for Passover.
Okay.
So for this week, we don't eat any bread or any products that contain yeast or leavening. So we go through and we do a full spring cleaning. We clean out the house. And the tradition is that you even go into the corners of the closet. You turn the pockets of your pants inside out to make sure there are no crumbs or anything. And then you go into the corners of the closet with a feather and a candle. And you try to brush away even the tiniest of crumbs.
Wow.
So it gets really, really nitty gritty. For people who keep kosher, this is the week where they often will go, double secret kosher. And for people who don't keep kosher, sometimes this is the one week when they actually do, because that's how important it is, and that's the degree to which it's emphasized in our tradition.
Right.
Other people in normal years would go away for the week just so they don't have to do that in their homes.
Huh.
So they have hotels and things on Miami Beach, and a lot of times people from New York, Philadelphia, Boston would come down to Miami for the 8 days, and that way they could just close up their house, lock the door, and ignore it. Come down here, have Passover, have all their dietary needs met here, and then the minute it's over, they could turn around and go home and go back to life as they knew it. But this year, that didn't happen. No cruise ship, no resort, no nothing.
They were stuck at home to clean.
Yeah, and they actually had to do the cleaning and go through and do it all at home.
Oh, that's too funny. Okay,
Yeah,
because I never knew that. So that's a very good question answered. Very interesting. Wow.
absolutely.
So everyone had to stay home and do their Pesach cleaning. Am I saying
Yeah,
that right?
yep, Pesach cleaning.
Pesach cleaning. So is it kind of a myth that Passover's on a full moon? Is there an astrological um condition there, or is that
It is not a
also
myth at all. It is
okay?
always a full moon,
Okay.
always. The Jewish calendar is a lunar calendar. And that is why when holidays like Christmas always appear on December 25th, Hanukkah could be as early as Thanksgiving weekend, the end of Thanksgiving, or it could go all the way as late as New Year's week.
Hmm.
Because the way the lunar calendar is, it goes with 29 and 30-day months
Oh,
and completely messes up all of the seasons. So instead of having a leap year with an extra day, our leap year has an extra 28-day month.
wow.
And that is designed so that the autumn holidays stay in the autumn, the winter holidays stay in the winter, and the spring holidays stays in the spring.
That's
And Easter is one of those weird holidays where it doesn't go according to a specific date.
mhm.
It has all those rules about after the solstice and this and that and the other thing. It's actually going according to the lunar calendar. And it's almost always immediately preceding or during Passover.
Right.
So it's actually following our lunar calendar.
Okay. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Now, I know we mentioned this in the beginning. I was, talking about everything that you do, your congregation, and your entire bio. So, if someone would like to go to your congregation, your temple, where will they go? Would you like to give out any information on where folks can maybe? I don't know if you have websites you'd like to let everyone know about.
yeah. The easiest way to hook up with us is on Facebook,
Okay.
Congregation Dor Chadash, or Rabbi Jonathan Tabachnikoff, or you can also find me at the Miami Rabbi on Facebook.
I like
Those
that.
are the easiest places to find me. We are always looking to reach out and bring in new people who are looking for a place to belong, a place to feel a part, and a place where they can contribute spiritually with their hands, getting grassroots into helping us to make deliveries and making phone calls, reaching out to people to make sure that they're okay, even though they're isolated. And not the least of our concerns, we are always looking for those who can financially contribute and help keep us afloat.
That's fantastic. And of course, you need that. You need that. And a lot of people are going to be
Absolutely.
looking for, a lot of people, I'm sure, will be contacting you. At this time, I think a lot of people are reaching out to many different congregations. And I think a lot of people have found a few different things and have gotten creative during this coronavirus time. So if you give me a moment, I do actually want to mention my new sponsor here. We got to mention my new sponsor, Cobra Joe Productions. And Cobra Joe Productions is the first Sunday of every month, downtown Hollywood's Dream Car Classic. We're talking about Hollywood, Florida. It takes place on Hollywood Boulevard between 19th and 20th Avenues from 10 o'clock in the morning until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The Dream Car Classic, which is an awesome car show, features dozens of classic cars, trucks, exotics, and other one-of-a-kind vehicles on display. Now, attendance is free for spectators, free face painting for the kids of all ages. They also have other different booths that you can go to. Cute things that they sell. It's the best. See Cobra Joe Productions Facebook page for more information. I cannot thank you enough, Rabbi Tabachnikoff. You've really answered a lot of questions today. Thank you so much for being with me. This is really
my pleasure to be here, Erika. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Have a great day and happy Passover.
Thank you. Happy Holy Week to everyone.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for listening to today's talk with Erika. Join me next week for another discussion with the experts who help make life easier. Please visit my website, erikadelsordo.com, where you'll find all of my social media platforms and more. And be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Once again, thanks for listening.